We had a little problem. This is the Paranormal Quartett live from Mexico. I'm your host, Markus Vernolzer, and here's our team. We fight a little bit here with the technique. First one, as our guest, Gary Mannion. Welcome, Gary. Can you hear me?
Hello, yeah, thanks for having me.
Nice to have you here. The next one is, like every time, the wonderful Julie Adriani. Julie, welcome.
Hi, everyone.
And we shouldn't miss for sure our friend Hassan Blood. Hassan, welcome to the show. Hassan.
We're back.
Yes, Hassan.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right.
Now,
we're back.
Now you're back.
We got some technical difficulties here.
Yes, but nothing is perfect. Hassan, we have a sound problem from your side. Is that okay?
Can you hear me now?
Do you hear two devices on? Turn the volume down on the other device. Yeah. Okay.
Now it seems to be better. So, Hassan, you have
can
been.
hear me? Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you now. You have been to Switzerland. How was it?
You're not here. I cannot hear.
Okay, then. Can you hear us now? Can you hear us? Sam, hello. Okay, then let me go to Gary. Gary, wonderful to have you here. You are a psychic person and very well known for psychic surgery. Can you explain our audience what it is?
So psychic surgery, it's a very hands-on form of healing. Where it would differ from, say, normal spiritual healing would be similar to if you had a headache and you took a pill that helped your body get better, whereas psychic surgery is there if you needed intervention. So it goes a little bit step further. It's generally quite quick compared to other forms of therapy, but we tend to get some very good results. In places like Brazil, Philippines, they will cut skin. It works just as well without cutting skin, and we don't tend to do that in the rest of the world.
Okay, does it work better than to cut skin?
It doesn't work better. It definitely looks better. It's a lot more interesting to see, but it works just as well without cutting skin. And most of the times, the only reason they cut is to show people that it can be done.
Mm-hmm. And where are the limits?
We work with the theory that the body built itself. So given the right inspiration or stimulation, there's no reason it shouldn't be able to repair itself, in theory.
What is the difference between psychic surgery and other forms of healing?
So other forms of healing would be if you had a headache, so you take a tablet, and the tablet basically helps your energy do the work, but your body's doing the work. Psychic surgery would be where if you, for example, have a worn-out knee, your body has the potential to build new cartilage, but it needs that gene turned back on. So psychic surgery would be going in there to stimulate that to happen.
So we are still fighting with problems. Hassan, can you hear us?
Now we're on hotspot. We have really technical issues in this part of the world. We're very far away. We're going up on the mountains.
What about the sound? Could you lower a little bit maybe the volume from your microphone?
Okay.
Maybe it's now better.
Do that.
Yes, sounds better now. Okay. Okay, let us go to our wonderful Julie Adriani. Julie Adriani, she's very famous for psychic readings. She is using a lot of psychic tools, mediumship, trance healing, and tarot. Julie, I'm every time happy to have you here. I have a question for you. It popped up yesterday like this in my mind. I should ask you, what are your goals by doing all this work? Do you have a special goal that you say, for example, well, I want to help human beings, or is it more to spread the word there's more than we can feel and touch?
Actually, for me, I had been seeing spirits since I was a child, but I did not do anything with it. I wanted to get married, I wanted to have children, and that was my life. I wanted like a normal life. Um, a couple of my sons had issues, but the one thing that made me decide and almost promise to do this work and stop denying it was one of my sons was in a near fatal motorcycle accident where he lost his leg. It got amputated on the scene from the thigh. So, as you can imagine, he was brought to the emergency room as dead on arrival in the hospital where I worked. So, basically, I promised God to serve and give anything if he would save my son's life. So, that's the most important reason why I started to work and, give in, because I know the power of healing. I know the power of God. And my son is wonderful today. He has a prosthetic leg. He's got a beautiful wife and 4 children. So he is superhero to his kids with a bionic leg. So we never say you're handicapped. It's all positive. So that's one reason. That's the main reason. And of course, I see and I help other people going through issues, and it's very rewarding work.
This question, what I'm asking now, I would like to ask for everyone who is in our team. And everyone can answer in his own way the next question. Spirit guides. Do all human beings have spirit guides? How they interact with us? How long are they with us? Do we have only one? Are they changing from time to time? Or yes, let us first answer these 2 questions about spirit guides. Who would like to answer the question? Let me forward the question to Gary. Spirit guides. What can you tell us about?
Okay, so my understanding of guides. So you've got guides and you've got spirit helpers. So a guide would be an entity, a spirit that owes you an energetic exchange or a karmic exchange in some way. And these might be the guides that will change throughout your life. So they'll work with you for a certain period, and then they may go on and carry on with their journey, working on the basis of karma that every action has a reaction. So the only way you're going to repay that energy fully is from a spirit side, so working with the physical sphere without a physical form. And then you have spirits who are not karmically bonded to you, but maybe part of your soul group. So they're there to help you achieve what you set out to learn. And they're using their expertise and skills and those, they may be with you throughout your whole life.
And this means I'm never alone. There's every time someone around me. There's every time someone around me who tells me, hey, you shouldn't do this, do it a different way.
So the way I say the spirit is I fully believe in free will, but I think a spirit knows us much better than we know ourselves. So they know how to get us to do what they want them to do, but make us think that it was our choice. So any skill you have on this side of life, you're going to have a guide and spirit that's helping you with that. You don't have to be a medium to have guides. You don't have to have an awareness of the guide. And actually, even if we look at mediumship, I know some fantastic mediums who have no idea who their guide is, but they know how to connect with them. They know how to interpret their information, and they're amazing at what they do.
Let me now throw the ball to Julie. Spirits guides that are human beings, they walked on Earth in a human body, or they have never walked on Earth?
I believe that we have guides on both sides. I believe that there can be angels and people here on this side guiding you as, in the same fashion. And I also believe, like, say, in the instance, if you lost a mother or you lost a husband and they are at spirit side, I've had this experience where they became my guide after they passed. So, in that, I want to say that their guides are also helping them when they become a new guide. Say someone crosses over and all of a sudden they feel like they didn't get enough time with you, so they want to help you progress because they are progressing too. They're also learning and building their karma, their good karma. So, and like Gary said, there are guides that will come in, say, for a medicine guide, helping someone that's learning to be a doctor, or a musician helping children learn to play music. So there's all these specialty guides that can come in because they have an affinity for what you're learning and they can help you.
You mentioned angels. Angels were maybe human beings before.
No,
Not
sorry.
necessarily. Not necessarily.
I believe that God created the angels. So the angels have not been.
Okay, we speak about not light beings. We speak directly about the archangels and.
Yes, and I believe, and Sam can probably speak on this. You can actually be guided by ascended masters. Some people might have an ascended master as their guide, but typically there's a hierarchy in the guide.
Yes.
So when other guides might be having, there's a big issue, say something big is happening with this person, they will go and be helped by the ascended masters. So not everybody has ascended masters, but they're all looking out for all of us.
Mhm.
So you want to take it from there about the ascended masters and guides?
Let me
Yeah.
move from Julie to Hassan. Ascended masters. Tell us a little bit about it. How they guide us.
Yes. Actually, each person, as far from what I have read and what I have heard on these lessons, each person has an ascended master teacher that picks you for whatever reason to share your karma with you. So as long as you're on that path, there's an ascended master teacher guiding you along the way, and it's really beautiful to know their names and connect with them. And once you know their names, you can go, to some wonderful people with abilities like Julie, Gary Mannion, or Kai Moge, or Michael Shane, or whoever, and they can tell you more about these guides and these master teachers, so you can build a rapport and a stronger connection with them. And they've mentioned to us many times in the seance room that they will like us, they will like the fact that when we are home or at work and they show up to bless us, they would like the fact that we are developed to a point where we can sense their presence. And so you see, sometimes it's also good to develop to a point where you can sense the presence of your master teacher. Also, I have heard something very interesting, which I have not heard before, that there is also what we call watchers. Each human on earth is assigned one or two watchers, and even these beings are not able to be seen by evolved beings like, Michael Shane or Gary, or whoever, these wonderful people out there. Sometimes they cannot see them because they're beyond our understanding. Sometimes even I've heard Michael Shane told me that he cannot see them. And so once you know who your master teacher is or your guide, you have a picture, and then you put that picture up in your meditation area, or you're in the holy of holies, and you get to know how at least they look like. So when Master Emil appeared to me when I was about 14, I was at my aunt's house. I didn't think much of it, but later on, when I start to reading more about how important to know how your master teacher look like, you can visualize him in your meditation and build a stronger rapport through your heart. And then you could do the affirmations such as, "Oh, beloved master teacher, merge your consciousness with mine. Oh, beloved master teacher." And you could do affirmations, yeah? So there's many techniques and ways to honor these beings, and there's many techniques and ways to evolve and develop and unfold, not only our consciousness with knowledge, but our heart with love, as Jesus
Would
says.
you would you say Jesus is an ascended master?
Yes, Jesus actually came from a different dimension. His name was Ananda. And when he came to Earth and agreed with the hierarchy to come to planet Earth and do his mission that we've been talking about him for the last 2,000 years, um, it was I can feel him actually right now when you said Master Jesus. I got my ears ringing. I'm sure a lot of you can relate to these phenomena. So Jesus, yes, he is an ascended master, and they don't like to be called ascended masters. In my opinion, they're evolved beings, they're supreme beings. There's many different manifestations of them, but he's definitely one of those beings that stand as a figure that came and revived the concept of forgiveness. He revived the concept of judgment. Remember, I have a lot of people that come want to talk to me, they want to convert me to Christianity. And I tell them, I'm not a Christian, but I'm a Christian in my heart just because of what Jesus came and taught us. And I don't want to get into the history of Jesus and the Bible of the last 2,000 years. We lose the point and the important message that we need to focus upon, which is to forgive one another. Remember when he was on the cross, he said the real words and what Jesus said when he was on the cross being crucified, which he knew what was going to happen anyway, and we shouldn't be really feeling guilty about that. He says, oh God, why have you glorified me in this holy and great experience? Because that's when he became the perfect Christ. That's when he gave all of his 7 bodies all together as a sacrifice so his message can live in our hearts. And look, we're still talking about him right now. And it's very important, this story that I always use when they're about to throw the rocks on that lady supposedly slept with that guy, and he told them, those of you without a sin, let him cast the first stone. This really changed my mind, and I start to become really less judgmental towards the people around me. So there is many 3 stories we should apply to really understand the principles of Jesus. Then we can get into the history and the debate where he came from and all that stuff that doesn't really produce any result and advancement in our life. It just only produces sometimes frustration because we don't really know exactly everything about him.
Let me interrupt you one moment. What do you think about the Bible? Can we trust in the Bible? Or is it only something what comes near to the reality, what happened to Jesus Christ? Because we know for some 100 years they started to translate it again and again, and when we switch from one
Right.
language to another language, something get lost. And for
You're asking
sure,
me
about the Bible now. And for sure, the church and politics was 500 years ago the same. So they manipulated it a little bit all in their own favor. Can we nowadays trust the Bible? Or what do you think? Where and what we can trust
you're asking me this.
in? Mhm.
Okay, so let's take that on a deeper level. In every religion that exists on earth, you will find error and you will find truth. And you should be able to have some sort of a guidance or a teacher to guide you through it. Otherwise, it's a little bit difficult because a lot of people, they got lost, yeah, with the history and the stories, and things doesn't make sense. So in every religion you will find error and you will find truth, and it's up to you and the people around you to figure out, what's true and what's not true. And that's what I love about the ascended master teachings. They call them the ancient wisdom that has not been tainted or changed, because all of these religions has been translated and retranslated from many different languages by many scholars throughout their beginning. So, and the language also creates another issue. So you have so many people on the planet, sadly, programmed with wrong information. And they live their
Mhm.
life and they teach it to their kids and their grandkids, and the cycle of pain and ignorance continues. And ignorance is what? Is evil. There's no evil in the world. Those who are ignorant, evil, they're evil because they're ignorant. They have not been educated, and they have not been disciplined or trained or shown love, or those principles that reflect truth, justice, beauty, and goodness that we study. And
Let me throw the
so,
ball to Gary, maybe. Ascended Master. He was, when you were speaking about Ascended Masters, he was like, oh, yes, yes, yes. Sam is absolutely right. Gary, do you work with Ascended Masters together in psychic surgeries?
So for me personally, I don't know much about these Ascended Masters. I know they exist, but I don't have the knowledge with it. So with psychic surgery, I work with Abraham. So his aspect would be
Who's
El Moye,
Abraham?
Ascended Master. So Abraham is the main surgeon that works through me, the main spirit surgeon. So he's an aspect of El Moye, which would be his Ascended Master or him as an Ascended Master. But because I don't know much about Ascended Masters, he kind of dumbs it down for me and uses the personality of Abraham. So when you look at psychic surgery, though, you will get a range of different beings that specialize in all different areas, and that can be people who lived on Earth, people who've lived on other planets. So you'll hear a lot of psychic surgeons talk about ET energy, ascended masters, angels. So it's a whole mixture, really, giving that person really what they need.
And you mentioned Abraham. Who or what is Abraham?
So again, different psychic surgeons work differently. So what will happen with some psychic surgeons, they will have different spirits that work at different times. So when I was out working in Brazil, you would go in on Tuesday at 2 o'clock and you'd be told to come back at 4 o'clock on Thursday when a particular spirit was going to be working. With other psychic surgeons, what you'll do, like with me, I have Abraham, he's my main surgeon. He has a whole team of different surgeons that work with him. But whoever needs to come through, he'll facilitate that. So even if he's not the one doing the healing, he'll still be the one giving me the information, and he's my go-to person.
He's next to you, or he's inside you, and you can hear him in your mind, or is it a direct voice phenomenon?
So with Abraham, I hear him as clear as any other person talking, but I know it's internal rather than external. Sadly, I don't get that when I do mediumship or anything else, which I wish it would be like that. But with Abraham, it's as clear as any person talking to me. And for me, I'm aware it's internal, even though it's as clear as somebody audible. In regards to feeling him, the easiest way to explain this is it's like he's there 24 hours a day, but it's a bit like having a toothache. You forget you have it when you're not thinking about it. So I can be going on my day. If he needs to talk to me, he can pop in at any time. If I need to talk to him, he can pop in at any time. But otherwise, you kind of
What
forget.
are you guys talking about? I mean, is he like a friend and he gives you advice, or you speak about problems you have? What's going on in this conversation between you and him?
I describe him more like a Father Christmas character, in the sense that when I first started working with him, I had my own opinions of what happened when you died, what the spirit world must be like, and he would come out with completely different answers. So I would argue with him. He'd always win the argument, but I would argue with him. Sometimes it may be that we're working and I'm asking him what he's doing and he's explaining what he's doing. Sometimes it can be general questions I'm asking him. Now, as lovely as that is, he doesn't give me all the answers I want. You know, if I was going to start a business tomorrow, he wouldn't say, well, that's going to fold in a year. He would leave me to do that. So I know that kind of I don't ask him every question before I make a decision, but he's always there to give me advice. If I'm teaching or working with people, he's always there to advise me as well.
Do you feel it is every time helpful to get an advice from a being you can't see, or does it lead every time to success?
It's lovely to have, and with a lot
You
of
feel
spirits
more
I work with-
self-secure in your decisions.
Yeah, so I definitely, if it comes to healing and stuff like that, I would trust Abraham over me any day. I'm not medically trained, but he knows what he's doing. At the same time, though, they're not there to make decisions for us. So I've learned very much with Abraham that he will always give me guidance and he'll always give me help, but he's not going to make a decision for me. I've got to go through my own life lessons. So, you know, if I'm going to fail tomorrow, he won't tell me that in advance because I've got to learn from that. But he'll always be there to guide me and help me through it.
Abraham was in earlier times a human being.
Yes, so his last incarnation on this side of life was as Abraham. So we're looking about 3,500 years ago. He's from a place called Ur, which is now modern day Iraq. I know that he used to lead tribes, but he wasn't a healer in life. Healing is something he got into from spirit side.
Hello? Can you hear me?
So anything? Yep.
Yeah.
I think I froze.
Go on, please.
So I know he died at the age of 65. from what sounds like leprosy. And I said, so he never did healing when he was alive. Healing is something that his guides, when he passed over, advised him to get into because he still wanted to work with mankind. He talks about how he was a religious man when he lived on this side of life, but a lot of what he believed he now knows was incorrect. So he almost wanted to make up for that by working with this side of life still. And so he was advised to get into the healing modality. Then he tricked me into coming back and being his medium. Or I agreed to come back and be his medium.
This reincarnation topic is a very interesting topic. And before I throw the ball to Julie, I have a special question for you. I would love to ask a little bit more about the amount of lives we can look back through reincarnation. So there are some people that say, oh, it's only one time. Other ones, they say it's around 60 times. What do you know about it, Gary? Did you ever ask someone from the other side, an average, how many times each single person has to reincarnate?
So to give Abraham's example of it, because I've asked him many times and people have asked him many times, his example is if you look at every life is the one life. So when you get right to the end of it, every experience that could ever be experienced is your experience. And the whole purpose of the soul is to gain experience, because the more you experience, the more there is to experience. Now, in regards to reincarnation, he will say that the personality you are now, when it returns to spirit, it will continue to grow in spirit. But another aspect of itself will return, because in order to experience everything, everything that could be experienced must be experienced. So what will happen is you will get spirits who, when they first pass over, don't believe in reincarnation or don't know about reincarnation, because where they're at, they're not at that stage where they have that awareness of the other lives they've lived. But then you've got someone like Abraham who's been in spirit for a long time, and he is aware of the different lives he's lived. So he'll say he's still an individual personality called Abraham, but he's aware of the multitude of lives that he has. But he says if you want to look at the big picture, every life is the one life.
Mm-hmm. So basically, I understand Abraham like this. He's a higher human being, what has many, many parts who are incarnated, maybe to the same time in different times. And this is my connection now to Julie. Is it possible to reincarnate only in the future, or can we go back in time to reincarnate in the past? What is your opinion about it?
Well, I've been told by my guides that in the physical, we want to always project and follow the timeline forward, but it's possible there is no time and space actually. So we can choose a lifetime back if we reincarnate. We don't, it's not always in the timeline progression. Like we don't have to go to the future. And I believe that this is why some of us, when we are connecting or we are visualizing things happening or others are visualizing what's happening around us, I don't feel they're always guides. I feel like sometimes we can actually see our other aspects of our soul. I feel like we can connect to them if you're highly evolved. So I believe in you can go either way. You can go to a timeline back or you can go forward. But in our human minds, we want to follow that clock and that calendar. So a lot of people can't understand that. It's very hard for them to grasp. And we could go further on another day with multiplicity. But for now, we're just going to stick with the reincarnation aspect. So yes, that's my answer.
Question for all of you. What do you think? How we have to understand time if it is not existing from a higher point of view? How we have to understand it? I mean, when I talk to people on the other side, they have a daily life. It's like a copy from this world. They are together. They are dressed, and. And there's a continuation, but they say time doesn't exist. So we have the same circumstances. And only because the sun is going up, it's going down, and we have celebration, And because in the sky something is moving all the time, we say, oh yeah, there must be something like time, and we are getting older. But we don't have to get old. It's only our belief system. How would you understand a person from the street what is time and why it doesn't exist in real? This is an open question for all. Everyone can answer.
Oh, we can't hear you, Hassan.
Hassan, let me see if I can. You're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay, so time. Uh, Time as we know it doesn't exist. Space as we know it doesn't exist. We're eternal, spaceless, forever living. Okay? Now, we know that living in the ever present now, the eternal now, is the only reality that we have right at this very moment, correct? Because the future is gone and the past is gone and the future is not here yet. Therefore, we
The
have
present is the
only
present.
now, which is beingness, which called isness, which called the ever present now. So when the masters told us to become masters, those of us who need to become masters, he said, yes, become, but know that the secret is in beingness. You know, so we could do another show on that. And so you take that concept of time. Anything is subject to time, it's going to change and end up passing into a change, whether it's good or bad. And so our constant prayer on earth should be, God, lead us out of the unreal into the real. Lead us out of what changes into what changes not. You know, so you got my point. We live in a world of change. Everything changes. And we all know the three-dimensional, it is very nice and it's very positive, but at the same time, it's filled with change. And some of that change, you know, we don't like, especially when we have those loved ones disappear or pass, right? Even though if we are developed, when they pass into the world of spirit and we're still in the physical, they're supposed to be closer to us, and we're supposed to be happy for them that they're moving on and they're in the world of spirit, going on their journey and growth into, you know, their next expression of life. And so that's the time concept. That's the way I mean, we can talk about it more, but in a nutshell, that's what I have about this.
Mhm. Um, it is a very difficult topic to describe time. Gary, would you define time through movement? Or what is time for you? You're muted. You're muted.
Sorry, I said, how long have you got? um, so time. When we look at time is very much a physical construct. What we want to talk about is perception, or the perception of time. Because when you dream, 8 hours may go by, but to you it's only been a couple of moments, or it may only feel like a couple of moments. So if we're looking at, say, spirit, they exist outside of the material construct of time. So the way Abraham would explain it is, say we're all at a party. I step away for that party and I go, and on my journey, I spend what to me would seem like 20 years doing different things. And then I step back in to the party at the exact moment that I left. So for you, it's been just a moment. For me, it's been 20 years. But every moment that ever has existed or would exist is existing now. The only thing that makes us deem each moment separate is our perception. And if you realize that everything we're experiencing is our creation, our reality, we're coexisting together. We do the same thing in spirit, but we're not confined to, for example, I can't be here and at the exact same time be in Budapest and live both those moments as Gary. But from spirit, I could do, because I'm not limited to that one moment.
Mhm. So time has nothing to do that sun is going up, going down, basically, how we understand it. Time is not when we look on the watch, oh, 1 hour is over, we have no time anymore. Time is eigentlich situation we can live and relive. Like Julie said, we can reincarnate in the past and live this life again with the same circumstances we know about in the present. So it means it is like a play. What is going on and going on and going on in the past, in the future, and in the present. This means I could choose after I die 2020 once again, but maybe in the United States as a different person, but all what I remember from my last life, I wouldn't remember anymore. It would be deleted. Do I understand it right? But this period still exists, or is it only a copy of this reality who was existing to the time when I was reincarnated as Markus Fair Neutzer? Has something changed? I know it's difficult. I hope you can follow me.
I think I follow you, but I feel you're also going to have your guides and a team, a spiritual team, that help you plan out your next incarnation. So I don't, you've already learned the lessons as Marcus, and you're already completing them and doing them. Do people come back and live in the same era? Yes, you can, but you don't want to have the same experiences. You might want to correct, you're going to correct some mistakes maybe that you have made in the past. That will be some of your goals for your existence. But
No, I was.
I
You
wanted to
first.
touch because you said some people, when they pass, they are in almost like a physical reality, not physical, but comforting to them like we experience here on earth. So I feel like that's because the law of attraction works this way too. So you're going to go to your level of consciousness. So if your grandma feels like she wants to be in somewhat of a construct of her same comfortable living room or her same home life. I mean, we are creating our existence and what makes
On the
us,
other side and on this side, but only
yeah,
in a different way. Here we use our hands, we have matter, what we have to work with our hands, but the idea starts here and the reality starts here and is projected outside. On the other side, the reality, the matter, is manipulated through
conscious.
ideas.
Yeah, yes.
Yes.
Our,
Basically the same, but only this matter what we have, it needs more time to modify it, and it is a different way how we modify it. Let me go a step back. The idea why I mentioned time, or the idea of time, if it is repeatable, if it stays the way, if we reincarnate, maybe in a different body, in a different country, in a different suburb, there kids 5, 6 years old, and they completely remember on their past life. And if you check it, all what they say is completely true. They can go to a place. They say, "I lived in this house. The color inside the rooms, the room are of this and this color. The woman is looking like this. This was my grandpa," and all is true. That's the reason why I say, well, time for us is only time because we want to interpret it as time, and circumstances of life are maybe not changing. So this I wanted only to bring in context how we can understand time. But it is such a difficult topic to get the idea out of our head what is in real time. Time in
If
real.
I may, if I may say, Marcus, uh, God is timelessness, right? He's beyond time and space. Now, in order to fully understand certain concepts, you cannot understand that using only your vehicle, your mental vehicle of consciousness. You have to go beyond and use the spiritual vehicles of consciousness to reach certain answers to your questions. Yeah. So, for example, if you want to ask your mental body if God doesn't exist, your mental body tell you does not exist. But if you use your spiritual vehicle of consciousness, which is higher, it's above, it's more evolved, you will understand God in a different way. Yeah. So as for reincarnation, there's enough evidence and enough books has been written so far to know beyond any reasonable doubt that you know
It
um,
exists.
this does exist. Same thing with psychic surgery. I wanted to do psychic surgery on my back, and I almost traveled to the Philippines. And I believe it does exist. And I did further research, and I realized it is amazing. And I've seen so many evidences and books. So I really love what Gary Mannion does. But so anyway, so as reincarnation, when you come to Earth, you come and reincarnate because Earth is a school
Mhm.
ground where the soul comes to learn and grow. And they say, they come to relearn the lessons of love, truth, beauty, justice, and goodness. And once you polish that jewel and you reflect these principles, you're ready to graduate. You go back into the spirit world and you get ready into your next expression of life. Yeah, so we're constantly growing and moving forward. We don't really go back. We move forward, even though there is an exception to the rules. And there's no higher or lower level of consciousness. There is varying levels of consciousness. And so reincarnation is all good and well, but according, if you really go deeper into that, it's about how to escape the wheel of rebirth. There's cultures like, for example, here in Lebanon, we have people that they take so much pride in reincarnation because it's such a magical thing, and they have so much proof and so much evidence. So it's so ingrained in them. When they die, they kind of have to reincarnate right away. You know what I mean? So when they go to the
Mhm.
spirit world and they hear that you could be eternal and move forward, they're gonna have some issues. Last week we had an amazing master class by Master Zoser, and it's a lesson that was given in 1955 through a very famous medium who's been tested on over 20 countries, and it's a great information. It's a lecture about what to expect when you arrive in the spirit world, and it's a lecture by Master Zoser. It's an inside look about what to do and how to prepare and when to expect. And one of the most important thing to remember, Master Zoser said, is never to look back. Once you're in that spirit world, don't look back and come back to earth and be an earthbound. And sometimes you just sit there and wait for a womb to come back into or through, so you can come back into a world you understand. So all these attachments that we attach ourselves to, like our homes and all these things, it kind of pushes us back. Unfulfilled dreams, or loved, or we screwed up a person that loved us so much, and we didn't make it up for them, so we go back there. And so there's many different layers and many different information about what goes on and what transpires. Yeah.
Mm. It was very nice that you mentioned it. It is basically proven that reincarnation exists because we have from Joshua Benjamin one reaction in our chat. He says no one reincarnates, but we have basically a proof that people, young people, remember lives before, and we can prove it, and they are written down in books. Everyone can read it. So I'm convinced that reincarnation exists. I would say because we are running out of time, let us move a little bit forward. We have really the luck that we have Julie here with us. She's a physical medium, and I would love to
Who are they?
listen.
I just want
I-
to touch on one thing that you said. Someone also said it about once the time and space thing, like in dreams. So when we have people going to outer space now, right? And
Mhm.
maybe they're only gone a half an hour, but the time and space there, what are they being able to accomplish in all of that time? I won't say any
Mhm.
names, but they're probably like building condos, or they will be soon, and they're only gone a short period of physical matter time here on Earth in this atmosphere. So this is something to think about. And
Mhm.
some of the things I have experienced, we talking about in the cabinet, like physical sensations, I feel very comfortable, but then immediately my ears will pop like I'm in an airplane, the air pressure, I feel that difference. and I sometimes feel the wind. I feel like I'm in the eye of a tornado, like everything's going around. You might experience touching
It's energy. Energy is going around you, and you
the
can you
vortex.
feel it? Do you get goosebumps on your skin that you can feel it, or is it a tickle?
Yeah, like a cobwebbing feel, like almost like when your foot falls asleep all over certain
Yeah, yeah.
areas before going to trance. But definitely crowding and air pressure changes almost immediately.
Mhm.
So,
And I saw a video from Michael. He was a short period of time ago in Switzerland. He had scotch tape on his mouth. Someone took it away, and a lot of coins came out, silver coins. And I was wondering, how does it feel when something is naturalizing in your body? What is happening? Does it hurt? Do you feel it? You don't feel it? Julie, you are the best person to answer this question.
well, I don't know about that, but I can tell you my experience. For
Mm-hmm.
me, I don't have apportation from my mouth because I I got a thing with my mouth. I'm like I really would not want that actually. So for me, it's from a cloud of ectoplasm and falling from the cloud of ectoplasm and or the trumpet coming out of the trumpet
So,
or so that I don't have that type of apportation. Whenever it did happen, it was from a cloud.
is there a limit? I could see with the time, it seems to me that it takes from the medium's body a lot of energy. And when it appear, for example, precious stone, wonderful stones, when there are more than one, they start big and they're getting smaller, smaller, smaller. Where's the limit? I mean, I could see stones big like this, maybe 2 inches. Is this possible, or is there a limit of apportation?
Sam, you want to take that or Gary? Because I feel like everything is limitless, but they know, the guides know, working with the medium, the situation, the programming for the entire situation. So I don't believe any two are alike. What do you guys feel?
Yeah, I would agree. So in theory, there shouldn't be a limitation. Physical mediumship does put a big strain on the medium's body, so you are going to be limited by that and by what energy you have that night. And certain mediums are better suited for certain types of reports. So some mediums will always get crystals, some will get coins, some will get spoons, really depending what their energy is best suited towards. But in theory, there's no limit to how many you get, or if one team gets better than others.
So it means it could appear something what is maybe, let us say, in this size. Would it be possible, in your opinion, or would it be too big? Because I want to go from this question to the question of ascended masters, because we know maybe they are gone since a long period of time, but someone told me they can appear with a body in our normal world, right? Is it correct? Or did I misunderstand here something?
So if you look at physical mediums in the past, like Father Cassetti, he could get a full materialization in 15 seconds that would sometimes hang around. You've got one materialization that hung around for 3 days, a fully physical form. In regards to the size of the apports, especially if you're looking at things like precipitation art, I've seen canvases that are 6, 7 foot that will fully materialize images. And I've heard of big plaques and stuff being given. So the size again shouldn't matter. I've never seen anything coming out of the mouth that couldn't necessarily that would damage the mouth coming out. Normally, bigger reports will just be brought in darker or will come out from thin air rather than the medium's body. But yeah, the size shouldn't matter.
Why they do it? Why we have this apportation or materialization? Why we have it? What is the reason? What they want to prove?
So normally, so normally with the ports, there's normally a purpose to it. So, for example, a ports will often be given for healing. And what's interesting, especially about healing the ports, is when they tend to do their job, you'll find a lot of ports will be taken back again or deported. So a lot of people find that they do lose the ports once they kind of serve their purpose. If you look at someone like Kai, a lot with his mediumship and his team, they will give activation stones. So that's going to help your circle develop by utilizing the energy of the crystal. So there's always tends to be a purpose to it. Sometimes there can be an aspect maybe of the medium's mind that they really want a ports, so they could be creating that phenomena to happen. But normally, if spirit are going to bring in a port through, it's going to be for an intention behind it.
My last question for today before we finish our live show: how you deal with the situation of people who don't believe you and they say, oh, what he or she is doing, it's all fraud. How you deal with the situation? I have the impression it is sometimes very difficult to prove blind people that what we do, or more you than we, it is the truth. It is more real than our reality we live every single day. How you deal with the situation of people who offend you, try to tell you, oh, you do it only because you want to make money, or you're a liar, and. What, what would you tell a person like that?
I personally set my intention to be loving to everybody and non-judgmental, no matter, color, race, religion. And I feel like that brings more back to me. I don't have an issue. I work with all types of people. I have a lot of family members that believe a little differently than me, but we all come together, and I've gotten just respect. I feel like if you put out respect for other people, you will get a lot of that back. But there are a lot of non-believers. Honestly, I've been very, very lucky but you can say that for anything, for psychic work, for mental mediumship. There's so many non-believers, but if I come across someone like that, and if they're open, I invite them to, to experience it for me.
Yeah.
Hassan, what's your
It's
opinion about
it's all about education also as well.
Mm.
Definitely, yes.
It's also about education when you meet people that they are disbelievers, because it's a phenomena that defies physical laws, so you don't blame them for thinking that this is kind of weird, because there's not a lot of information out there about apportations. Now we have great mediums, such Michael and Kai and Warren and others. Gary, you do apportation as well,
Julie,
right?
Starting
Julie
Beginning.
to.
is doing
How's it going?
apportations, starting to. So there's a purpose for this. There is a purpose for this. It's a great purpose. Saint Germain talked about this extensively, about how important these sacred objects are and how important to use them in our meditation, because they do contain energies designed for us. And so the sacred object itself not going to change anything, but it's our belief in ourself. But this is the tool to aid us, because every noble profession must have its tools. So when the master sat down to figure out what kind of tools they need to use, they couldn't find anything more beautiful than the mineral kingdom. Yeah, so like Master Emo, for example, he's a jeweler. He does his hobby is to facet and work on so there's a lot of information about the gemstones. It's really difficult to talk about it in 5 minutes, but I think it's important to focus on them and use them and wear them. And it's a great blessing to be able to obtain a gemstone from the world of spirit, programmed with love, light, healing from these amazing, divine, supreme beings that I believe do exist. There's a lot of evidence for their existence. Those who don't believe, it's okay. One day they will, because we were like them at one lifetime or another.
or they should be one time together with people like Julie or Gary and see what in real happens. And then they are maybe convinced there's not going on something behind the scene, that it is fraud. Guys, thank you so much. Our time is over. It was so interesting to listen to you, to hear your opinion about specific topics. I hope next time I see you again. For today, we are over the time almost. And thank you so much. Take care, and until the next time, goodbye.
Bye,
Thank you,
everybody.
everybody. Thank you, everybody who
Thank you
tuned
very
in and
much.
took the time.